let's just say the more the books progresses, the more feral the events become. I love this. I just love reading about angry women, about what they are pushed into being, or what they're expected to be. And I especially love a book where a woman is angry and the man is useless. Very relevant, because I know that a movie is coming house, and there's that. But just the concept of quarantine, when the first quarantine happened, I found that very comforting, because everything I had to worry about was stay inside. That's it. Like, that's the one task. I don't know, maybe it's the simplification. It's simplifying to the minimum what you have to do, or what is expected of you, maybe. I don't know. Fantastic book. Next, I thought I would throw in a non-fiction. I tend to prefer fiction 100%, always, all the time. But Amanda Montel has a way of writing non-fiction that I just adore. So this is Cultish. I've also read Word Slut by her, and I'm yet to read the Magical Year of Overthinking. The Year of Overthinking, something like that. But yeah, so Amanda Montel is a linguist, and she writes in such a accessible pop literature. Pop is such an accessible way of writing, basically. And it's so gripping, and she's so just like witty and fun, and just like, she really has a way with words, as you can expect from a linguist. But this book is just amazing. So, as you can imagine, it explores the world of cults. But again, Montel being a linguist, this is specifically an exploration as to how language is used by cults or cultish groups to grab you, so to speak, but also to keep you in, to alienate you, and all that jazz. Plus, again, the book is called Cultish because if you think you already know everything about the big cults from the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, whatever, this is again an exploration into cultish groups. So even groups that haven't resulted into terrible tragedies, there's still a lot of that cultish language that gets used by, Peloton, or, Peloton is just an example, but there are different types of groups, and I don't know, even Apple could be considered a cult, you know what I'm trying to say. But yeah, she has the perfect way of explaining all of this that I will never be able to replicate. is right at the end of the film. So I guess it's not a plot twist, it's just like the big climax is at the end of the movie. So if you don't know anything about the story, you'll kind of be like, what the fuck, by the end of the movie. In the book, it gets revealed pretty early on. So because I'm talking about the book, I'm just going to talk about this plot point early on. So yeah, this is your time to click out if you don't want to know anything about the story. Okay, hope that made sense. But yeah, so we need to talk about Kevin by Lionel Shriver. Is an epistolary book. So it's a series of letters from Ava. So Ava is our narrator, and she's writing to Franklin, her technically husband, but I guess, former separated husband. And so who's Kevin? Kevin is their son. Who committed a school massacre and is now in prison. So the letters sort of take place, a while after the fact. And so Ava is trying to, honestly, she's not even trying to rebuild her life, she's just trying to survive. She has a job at a holiday, what are those called? A place where you go and book your holiday. It's a bit old fashioned, but I think she works in one of those places. And yeah, she's separated from Franklin, and she goes to visit Kevin in prison every once in a while. So it's a family completely torn by this tragedy. And again, this book explores that feeling, that very complex feeling of hating your children, or that deep desire of not wanting children, or if I could go back I wouldn't have children. It's like, now this is very extreme, of course, because Ava has a reason to hate her son because he committed a crime. But even then, it's not I love how this book is not so black and white. It's not just that Ava